You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share facts.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We'll do it live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll! Don't save me, bro! It's a trap! I'm a firing memory. Time to do. Hey, Charlie, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man.
All right, everybody, it is Saturday here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, Nerd to Know Media, and of course, on the interwebs. My name is Darragh O'Connor. You are listening to Nerd to Know Basis, and joining me is the one, the only, Mannequin Blue herself, Katie Riley. How are you, Katie?
Hi, I am alive.
It's weird. It's weird doing the show, like doing the introductions, because usually I let Keen do it and just throw sardonic comments out. So I was kind of like, oh, I'm not doing the rewind today. This is the other show that I never host anymore.
I know, when you were doing the intro, I was just like, yes, it's definitely Saturday and totally not Wednesday.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. And it's
also, full disclaimer for anybody listening, I do have a very prominent lisp at the moment.
Yes. Do you want to go into why you have one, or do you want to keep them guessing?
No, do you know what? Like, if people have been following me on social media, they're probably sick of me saying why I have a lisp. So let's just leave the mystery there.
Oh, but that's an excuse to go over and follow Mannequin Blue. So if you don't, you should. You feel bad. Totally follow.
You should, because I post very pretty and colourful things on a daily basis.
You do, and I mean, look, it's their loss if they don't. But now there's like an extra incentive to go and unpack the mystery. But yeah, no, last week, fair play with the show. You guys talked about Hocus Pocus, which, I mean, I've been wanting to talk to you about for like a month. So it's just like the one show I missed. Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Awful.
But like, I was looking forward to it. This is
why I wanted to talk to you about it. It is garbage here. Awful.
I will say the three sisters were perfect.
The little young one was
no.
brilliant.
The older sisters, like, they were great.
Yeah, they were great. But the little young one specifically, who was Winnie's the main one, isn't it?
Yes.
Sanderson. Yeah, Winnie Sanderson. She was spot on. I mean, her whole, for a little actress, she encapsulated that role perfectly. So I mean, she deserves a little Oscar, or a real Oscar. I don't know. I don't have to use
just a little mini Oscar.
Little mini Oscar. But she was brilliant. And I mean, I was just like, wow, okay, we're starting off super strong. But I don't know. I guess we're talking about it now. Like, when I was watching it, I was like, what's everyone watching? Because, you know, there were different websites, like Geek Ireland praised it and that kind of stuff. And look, yeah, and obviously we have a relationship with Geek Ireland, and so, you know, a lot of time it's me trolling them or trolling Kane, mainly trolling Kane, but because I have to, you know, it's part of it. But I mean, I saw the review of it, and I was like, what were you watching? None of this was good. I mean, bits of it were good, but like, okay, you know what it felt like? You remember Halloween Town?
Vaguely, yeah.
Right, Halloween Town is a Disney Channel made for TV movie, right? It has a big cult following. It's very good, right? It's great. It was out 20 years ago. It's fine. This felt like Halloween Town, but bad, with no charm. It's like they watched the first movie and was like, yeah, okay, yeah, it was great. Let's just make this. But all the good parts in it were like stuff that was already in Sabrina. So I know you didn't finish Sabrina. Where did you stop?
It's hard to say.
Did she go to hell or not?
No, I'm pretty sure I stopped like at some point in the first season.
Okay, all right. So you stopped super early. I'd recommend going back. It is a brilliant show. It kind of
No,
dies a death a little bit and then gets
don't
really good.
I really don't want to though. It was
Nah, it's
so
fair.
it was so boring.
But see,
Like everything was just hail Satan, but they weren't actually doing anything. It's like
you see that's the thing. There was a lot of buying for time, you know.
yeah.
But a lot of the big beats that are in the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina were stuff that were just lifted almost wholesale and just randomly dropped into Hocus Pocus 2. Like the nerdy guy owning a cult
The
shop,
occult shop, yeah.
you know. Literally that is in the movie, you know, in the show. The young kind of outcast, vaguely LGBT group, also lifted directly from Sabrina,
Yeah.
fighting, you know, obviously the team of witches, you know, that I'm gonna let that one pass because it's about witches.
Mhm.
I mean, that's about it. But the whole thing with the you know, with the music as well, the amplified, I know there was the music in the first one, but the amplified level of music in that with the big musical numbers, which made sense in Res Media, like made sense in the world, but the
Mm.
fact that it's something they do, which is not something they do. I mean, I know there's a throwaway line halfway through the movie where they're like, "Oh, they love to sing." It's like they sung once to like enchant the entire town in the first movie. It wasn't a thing they did. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, look, if their goal was to be like, look, Sabrina was very popular, we're gonna like take the best from that. They were incredibly successful, but it's the fact that they did it with like a much lower budget. You know, like with Sabrina, yeah, it's a bit campy, but I mean that's part of the charm. Like I really like Sabrina. I think it's brilliant. I mean, and what they do, you know, all the things that I said, they actually do better, and they do it in a lot more open, if that makes sense. Like every single point you want to pick in, it progresses the story, it kind of makes sense, it's telling an overall narrative, it's pushing these boundaries, it's actually building up to something. As you said, it's a very, very slow show, but then it kind of morphs into this really, really good show, you know. And I think by the second and third season it really goes into its own, and the fourth season is class. But there isn't enough time in a half an hour campy Disney movie with the budget of something that you'd watch back 20 years ago. And
Mhm.
and I'll be honest with you, like, yeah, Doug Jones is brilliant, but I mean, even to him, his his performance isn't as good as the first one because he's not given really anything to work with. So that's why, like, you know, so I've been holding this up for about a month, Katie, because I really wanted to say it. That's why it's so concise, because I'm like, I really hated this movie, but I didn't want to hate it. I was like, who made this and why did you do that? I mean, look, there was no reason to do a sequel. Genuinely, the story was already told. And here's the thing: so you had to get a candle. So in order to bring them back, you had to make a candle from a hanged man, right?
Mhm.
That was it. So that means the owner like went and got one. And I know he said he got it on the dark web, but I'm like, he's a criminal. He needs to go to jail. Like, already we're starting off this. It just felt very inauthentic, and I know that's kind of silly because like the first one was so goofy, but it was
No,
very
but
of its time.
it did though. It felt really forced. I mean, even the
It did
whole
feel
thing
very
of
forced.
like the main girls in it are like, "Ooh, we're witches. We practice witchcraft." It's like, yeah, you do it as a fad,
Yeah, so
you
that's what I
know.
mean. You know, vaguely LGBT as well. It's like this almost seems like it's a fad.
It almost seems like as well. It almost seems like they were like ticking boxes.
That's it. It felt
Like
like
I have
everything. Yeah,
obviously I'm more than happy to see, you know, LGBT
absolutely, me
in
too.
represented and everything, like brilliant. But the whole like, oh, we're witches. It's like, well, you only put that in there because it's trending, it's popular.
Well, I will ask anybody who, like, if you want to see that done correctly, literally watch Sabrina. I mean, like that whole. I guess what bugs me about it is it's not what they did, it's how they did it, right?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
mean, if I hadn't have seen Sabrina, I would have been like, oh yeah, that was cool. There's some cool ideas, but I wish it was done a little bit better. With this, I'm more kind of like, it was done so much better, you know. And I've
Mhm.
already watched 20 hours of it, you know, or
But
more, you
but I
know.
think that's the thing about the new Hocus Pocus as well, is that you watch it and you're like, it's been done. Like
Yeah,
everything
everything
that
has
they
been done.
had in it has
Yeah,
been done,
yeah,
either by them or someone else.
yeah.
You know?
And but I will say, if you were a fan of it genuinely, and you want more, go and watch the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. You'll have a great time. I had a wonderful time. Even the musical where they start doing Tricky as cheerleaders, brilliant, fantastic. I had a great time, you know. And people are like, "This is cringy as hell." I'm like, "It's also fabulous. What's your problem?" You know.
All I will say is they did Salem so dirty.
They did. Yeah, they did. That's
They
fair.
did so dirty.
But mild spoilers. In the later season, they do play with the original cast of the comedy Sabrina, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I heard that actually. I heard
It's really cool. Like that show needs more love because it just doesn't get it. And I think it's going to be one of those lost media things in a couple of years where people are like, man, that was really ahead of its time. And obviously it was, because now Disney are like, oh yeah, we'll take from this, we'll put this. But it's all been done. And I mean, that was it. It felt cheap. It felt like it was all done. And then I'm watching these reviews or reading these reviews and they're like, oh, it's brilliant. I'm like, tell me how.
Were we watching the same movie?
The whole time I was like, because my sister and my mom were obviously like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, okay, when does it get great? Because obviously I haven't, now they haven't seen Sabrina. I think my sister watched the first season and then she kind of stopped. So I would say again, if anyone thinks I'm off base here, fair enough. Let me know, nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com. But watch Sabrina first and then come back. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
Yeah, and I'll put my hands up and say, yeah, like I love the three Sanderson sisters. They were brilliant. They were perfect. Just the movie itself, like the script wasn't great. The premise.
It's like they were in a different movie. Did you feel that way?
Yeah.
Where it's like they were just dropped into, as I said, it feels like they were dropped into Halloween Town, which isn't a knock against Halloween Town. That actually is good. But I mean, I'll tell you what, watch Halloween Town again, folks, if you haven't seen that movie. There's 3 of them. Don't watch the third one. It's garbage tier. The second one's quite good though.
But like the thing about Halloween Town, right, is Halloween Town knows it's Halloween Town.
Exactly.
Whereas this was like Hocus Pocus didn't realize it was Halloween Town.
Yes. That's more succinct than my 7-minute rant, Katie. Thank you. More succinct than anything I've said, and that's kind of it. It's like if it had it's kind of a case of it not really knowing what it was. Like there was no kind of grit to it, even though they were bringing in stuff that has gritty elements to it, like the the dark web, blah blah blah. It's like I don't buy you're on the dark web, bro. I don't buy you know what you're doing. I don't, it's just weird, macabre that just doesn't feel it. I mean, when you're watching Sabrina and you see, I hate to go back to it, but it's the only comparison I can give. When you're watching Sabrina and you're like, man, yeah, they're doing some pretty dark things. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, you buy the world, And with this, it's like, this is too Halloween Towny. You expect, it's too fluffy, and that's the only word I can say. It's like proper mid-2000 Disney Channel movie, and that should not be Hocus Pocus.
Yeah,
okay, the first Hocus Pocus. I go back and watch. If you guys haven't seen the movie, I guarantee you, anyone listening to this show has seen the movie. But go back and watch Lindsay Ellis' review of it or something like that, and I mean, you can. Even just from the review, you can kind of see that like it has this grit to it. I mean, even still, it still holds up because it's very 90s. But I mean, they
kill a kid in like the first 5 minutes.
They kill a kid in the first 5 minutes. There's 3 hangings. They body horror Binks the cat. It's just like, man, this is dark. And then not only that, like they have bullies, Ice and the other guy, and I think that's like the best scene in any movie ever, where it's just like Ice, There's no one that memorable in the new movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Did you find it? Did you find there's anybody memorable in the new movie?
No, but I'm gonna be honest. Like when I watched it, we were doing like our annual Halloween movie night. We had people over. I
was sad. But next year.
Next year, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But so we were kind of watching and then being like, what the hell is this? And then not really paying attention and then going back to it. And then, it was a mess. Like, I will sit down and give it a proper watch, just me at some point. But like, from what I saw, it was bad.
Yeah. It's like, again, if you guys liked it, more power to you. I would
Oh
recommend
yeah,
it.
yeah. Not gonna dump on anyone who enjoyed it. Like, if you enjoyed it, good for you. That's great. You know.
Did Keen love it?
I don't think he's seen it.
Okay, he probably will love it though.
I think he just recently saw the first one.
Ah, that's fair. That's fair.
Hmm.
What was it? We in our group chat we were making a joke about how our podcast goes, where it's like I hate it, you're kind of middle of the road, but often side with me, and Keen loves it, and then Kev kind of justifies it's like middle of the road with Kev. Oh, with Keen. That's kind of our dynamic.
Yeah, that's it. It's kind of like we have both ends of the spectrum and then the two midpoints.
Yeah. But again, like, I mean, I went in watching that, and it wasn't just, Dara hates everything. That isn't a segment that we have, It's just like...
It should be.
It should be. But, I mean, I genuinely went in with high hopes, because everyone's like, oh, this is brilliant. And I'm like, all right, it must be good. And then I just sat the whole time going, when is the brilliance starting? I just want one good scene. And then the little young one came out, and she was fantastic. And I'm like, why didn't you make a prequel? Her life would have been more interesting than trying to follow. Because, I mean, that's the problem with sequels. It's like, that story at no point needed a sequel.
No,
they did everything.
Because it rounded out.
Yeah, it's like, you defeated them, like, comprehensively defeated them. Doug Jones got his ending. He got his rest. And they kind of go back and, try to retcon stuff. And it's like, if there's a reason for it, but there wasn't. I mean, there is probably a sequel there. This isn't it. I mean, they could have done like the Sandersons Go to Hell or something, like, think about it. It's like, also they break the continuity of the movie by having the movie in the movie. I don't know if you watched it, or if you saw it or not, but this first Hocus Pocus is playing on a TV inside the movie, which means the first movie is a movie in that world, which makes even less sense.
That is so dumb.
Very dumb. I mean, I'm a big fan of that stuff when it makes sense. Like, there's a bit in Blade 1 where they're playing the Scorpion Liu Kang fight from Mortal Kombat, and the music done by that was by a girl called I can't remember her name. Juno Reactor does it, but Tracy Lords, that's who it is. Junior Reactor and Tracy Lords did the music for it. Tracy Lords plays one of the main vampires in it, and she's watching the TV. That's a fun little thing. And also, they're the same studio. And I'm like, well, I was the only one in the cinema that popped for that. I was like, oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever seen. That's the art of cinematography. And everyone's like, I'm trying to watch Blade, please shut up. And I'm like, you don't understand how cool it is.
Yeah, but that's a fun little Easter egg,
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm just like, if you're going to do that stuff, make it have a reason. Don't just like lazy callbacks. And a lot of this was just nostalgia bait as well. I'm like, you can't be nostalgic for one movie. Like, it's like if they made a sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas, which they could do with the different worlds, but they couldn't make a sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas. The actual like Halloween Town. They could do like Christmas Town or like, Easter Town. That'd be kind of weird.
Yeah,
St.
that'd be
Town.
a fun thing.
That'd be fun. I mean, there are things that make sense logically, but yeah. So as you can tell, Katie, I waited about a month to say all these things, so I appreciate it.
No, that's okay. But like, it kind of reminds me of like when they did the sequel to Zoolander.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
they used pretty much all of the same jokes, but they tried to modernize them, but it didn't work. Because like even though they had modernized parts of the jokes themselves were still dated.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, and the 90s itself, like Hocus Pocus encapsulates the 90s in such a way that it feels authentic. Like when the kids go to school, it's just like, it could be Twilight. I don't mean that as a jab. I mean, like, it could just be the school from Twilight, because the zeros, the tens, and the 20s, obviously the 20s of those are they're the same. There's no defining fashion. There's no defining movement in those periods that are like, oh yeah. I mean, like, yeah, the 2000s kind of has it a little bit, which you can kind of see in those Disney movies to an extent, like, and even Lizzie McGuire and stuff. But I don't know, it just feels so homogenous. It's like the worst of Disney. It really is. It's like what people fear about Disney. It's like, oh yeah, there you go. Like a toothless, vapid waste. And it sucks because, I mean, you have good talent. You just have no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, they literally had the perfect they had the original cast who were perfect.
I just don't know where the music thing came from. It's such a weird thing to do. It's like, oh, they sing. It's like they sung once,
And that was a spell.
and that was a spell. And now you've made this like it's a part of the whole thing. And I mean, look, maybe Bette Midler just wanted to sing. She's very fond of it, and that's fun.
She is, and she's good at it.
She is good at it, and she's probably like, listen, I want to sing a little bit. Can I sing a little bit? And they're like, Bette Midler for you, of course. You know.
Yeah, and like the whole reason that she even agreed to do the movie was because she loves playing Winifred Sanderson. Like that was just her favorite role she ever did.
Yeah, and I mean, look, that kind of thing is fine. I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, like, you know, that's, I can totally understand that, like, you know, it was her favorite thing. She just wanted to have a little fun with it, and I can stand that. That is, like, we want Bette Midler to have fun. We do. She's wonderful. Yeah. But, like, you know, you just have to admit it was a bad movie. Like, it was a good production of a bad movie. Yeah. Do. I'm on my own, unsupervised now. I hope I don't say anything inappropriate. Like, dirty socks. Or, muddy gloves.
And we're back. Sorry about that.
You didn't hear any of that, no?
I heard none of that, no.
Alright, grand.
So go back in at the last sentence and have a clean cut.
Yeah, cut.
Well, look, let's move on. And we'll, like, I mean, tell you what I did watch after that. The Marvel Werewolf.
Oh, Werewolf by Night.
Did you see that?
I did. I've seen it like twice.
What did you think?
Because I feel like we've talked about this on the show before.
Yeah, but I mean, what did you think as like, because I mean, this is obviously the show after Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I watched these pretty much. I really kind of wish I watched them on Halloween. But what did you think of them as a better representation of Disney's offering around Halloween? Do you think that was much more substantial than?
Yeah. So, like, you know, and especially like the fact that it's Marvel, I thought it was a fun little aside. I loved that it was like practical effects. I loved that it was dark and twisted and it was done in like black and white and stuff. The only gripe I had with it was the actual werewolf design. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, we talked about that. It was,
yeah, it didn't look great.
I watched it again, and that was my least favorite part of it. You know,
yeah.
But I mean, look, if there's, you know, you're only given one thing to watch, give Hocus Pocus a miss and watch that. Watch that again. It's great.
Yeah.
Look,
now, and in fairness to it, like I know what they were doing with the whole, like they were trying to do like the homage to the old style werewolf films and everything.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, no. Other than that, it was solid.
Yeah.
And you know, Man Thing being there, brilliant.
Yeah, Man Thing's cool. I've nothing against Man Thing.
Yeah, Man Thing was awesome. So
look, kind of want to switch gears real quick into gaming because we have a lot of gaming stuff to talk about. Obviously, there was this mad news, Katie. Crazy news, which kind of came out of nowhere, which I mean is being blown a little bit out of proportion, but also is the most dystopian thing I think I've heard of in a long time. And that's really saying something.
Yeah, but I think as well, it kind of caught everyone off guard because when it popped up, everyone thought it was satire.
Yeah, it's because it's an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're pretty much we are living in Black Mirror.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for anyone who's not in the loop, basically the news that popped was that the creator of the Oculus Rift has invented a VR headset that will kill you if you die in game.
Yes. So there's a movie called Stay Alive. Have you seen it?
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, Stay Alive is great. We actually should have watched that for Halloween. It would have been more fun. That's a great movie. But never did I think that would be real. You know, it's like, who sits around and goes, "Know what we need? you need to die in real life if you die in a game. It's like, what's wrong with you? I mean, like obviously, look, this was a parody. It wasn't a parody, but it was kind of like a proof of concept thing that's never going to be sold. But at the same time, it's like,
Well,
what's
yeah,
wrong
'cause
with you?
apparently the guy whose name escapes me right now, but the
I can't remember
guy,
his name.
the Oculus guy, is
Yeah.
a huge fan of an anime called Sword Art Online.
Yes, that is true.
And I think isn't the premise of that where they're like trapped in a video game, and if
Yeah.
they die in the game, they die in real life. And I think that was his whole concept. It was
Yeah,
more
but
of
at
like
the
more of an art piece.
But at the same time, it's also like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
It's like,
it's like he got so wrapped up in thinking whether or not he could that he didn't stop to think whether or not he should.
exactly. And look, obviously, I love the Jurassic Park reference, by the way. It wasn't lost on me. But
It wasn't Lost World.
didn't. But look, the thing about it is, it's like with that kind of stuff, it's like, all right, fair enough. It's an art piece, you know. It's just so weird and disturbing. I mean, and that's the thing. I wasn't. Oh, that's cool. I'm like, that's disturbing, man. That's,
But like,
if I was his mate, I'd be like, listen, bro, we have a therapist for you.
yeah,
You
but
need
like,
to talk to him because
how
that's
did
just
he-
so weird.
how did he test it to make sure that like it works the way it's supposed
He
to?
probably tested it on a melon or something. I mean, like the way it works is, yeah. I mean, like the way it works is, this is like 3 little explosive charge, and they just push something into your brain. They like explode the lobe. I mean, if you put that on a pumpkin, or melon or something, that's gonna pop as well. It just shouldn't exist. You know, this as someone who's in tech, who loves tech, I also kind of hate it at the same time, because I'm like, you don't need to make the world more dystopian with this.
Yeah,
you
we
know?
don't need this. Nobody
No,
wants this.
Nobody wants it. I mean, I like VR headsets to a point. I wouldn't, the metaverse is obviously a terrible idea because it's been shown to be a terrible idea with the way it's performing. And I mean, look, I just, a future where that's the thing. Like even with the whole blood pack thing, a couple of years ago, there was someone released where if you got shot, it drew blood from you, so you could like donate the blood. But that was like a Red Cross thing. I'm like, all right, that's kind of weird, but like, fair enough. There's some kind of good to it. With this, it's like, it's just this. We're one step closer to the suicide booth from Futurama. It's like, it's weird. It's such a weird thing. But I don't have an Oculus. I would have got the PlayStation VR, but I mean, not really. I don't really find a use for it. Like, what do you think about the whole VR thing in general, Katie? Are you a fan of it? Do you use it? Like,
I've personally never used it myself, but I
Ever?
am never ever, but like I am
Wow.
a person who is very prone to motion sickness.
right.
So like I mean I even sometimes get motion sickness just playing a first person shooter. So
Oh wow. Okay. Well, look.
Yeah.
I'll give you one here, right? Like, the VR. I obviously haven't played many VR games because I don't have a VR headset, and like, you need a decent PC to run it.
yeah.
However, before COVID, there was a Dublin group. There still is a Dublin group where they use Unity and VR to actually do good things, not create a suicide booth.
Yes.
And the stuff that they can do is actually incredible. Like, it's a great technology. It really is. Where you can visualize there are some who are visualizing Dublin in the future, or new buildings, or like homes, or
Mhm.
training people how to like do CPR or fight fires. Like really, really cool stuff that I think, it's great. And, also designing the inside of a plane, kind of like Minority Report kind of stuff. And
Ooh.
that's great. So, I mean, that's in Dublin. You can actually go to those things. They used to do them up in WeWork. So I'm very excited when they come back, or if they come back, because obviously this was before the pandemic. But I was in Rome 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. And part of the tour for the Domus Aria. Now, the Domus Aria is a place that isn't supposed. So we're gonna get real nerdy here, Katie. I'm really sorry.
Oh no, we're not in a place for that.
So the Domus Aria is Nero's golden house. So the Great Fire, Rome, 66 AD. Nero burned down. Well, Rome burnt down. It was like a hot summer, and Nero got blamed for it. But
Did it burn down in a day?
No. Well, it burned for a week.
Okay.
Burned for a week. And it was convenient for Nero, so some people think it was his fault, but he blamed the Christians, and that's how the Christian purge happened, and that's how St. Peter was killed. But as a direct result of that, pretty much most of Rome was gone, right?
Mhm.
And Nero was like, "Oh, I can build a house here." So a house is kind of underselling it. He built basically this complex that's the size of like 7 football fields. So it literally stretches from one side of Rome to the other.
Nice.
And yeah, and it wasn't supposed to be real because it sounds so ridiculous. And he also destroyed all of it when he died, when he was killed, because they're like, yeah, we need to bury this, and he did, literally. Like they built the Colosseum on top of it, so that's what stands on the big pool where Nero's golden house was, and he had a big statue of himself as the sun god called the Colossus,
Nice.
which is where the name Colosseum comes from. The name Colosseum actually doesn't refer to the building; it refers to the statue. The statue is called the Flavian Amphitheater, right?
Huh.
So yeah, so that's where it was, and the Domus Aurea wasn't supposed to be real, right? And then about 200 years ago, they just start digging, and they fell into it, literally. And what they did is they actually filled in the earth, like these big vaults. They filled in with earth
Mhm.
and brick, right? So they preserved the Domus Aurea perfectly preserved, because they literally
Ooh.
buried it. The dirt is actually preserving it, and believe it or not, dirt is actually the best way to preserve something. You just
Mhm.
bury it. The problem starts coming when you take it out of the earth, which is the problem they're trying to deal with now. And
Yeah.
these frescoes and stuff were found, and a lot of those frescoes actually inspired a lot of the paintings that would go on to do the Renaissance. It kind of nearly kicked off the Renaissance in certain parts, in certain ways, including Raphael's painting of the Pope's apartments.
Mhm.
We're really getting nerdy here. I'm very sorry.
History's neat.
It is. History's the best. But anyway, so part of that tour, so obviously, as I said, this is perfectly preserved, right? But a lot of the things that were there are gone, like the statues and the way it looked and that. Because I mean, when you're in there, you're in an actual archaeological site, because it's
Mhm.
still underground and it's
Awesome.
not preserved. Like, yeah, it's the closest thing you can get to walking. Like Pompeii is also an archaeological site, but it's very touristy. This is not. This is a living archaeological site where you're in it, you're underground, and it is pitch black basically. But and the light, it's so spooky because the lights go off at certain points because you're in so
Ooh.
deep.
So it's
'Cause
a
they
bit like the Undercity in Edinburgh.
very much so, yeah, very
Hmm.
much so. But imagine older and deeper.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
like that kind of thing as well, right? But what they did is they actually they implement VR. So part of the tour is they bring you into one of the big rooms that they actually discovered. So there was this kind of storehouse, and they drop down, and you can
Mhm.
actually see where they dropped torches down 200 years ago, and then they obviously dug down and kind of cleaned it up a bit. But VR, they actually put you in a VR headset, and you can actually see what it was like in real time. Like they build it in real time, and you can walk around, and it's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And I've seen, like Dublin, not Dublin, Waterford has one with the Viking experience, which is also fantastic. And then the
Mm.
Van Gogh experience has that as well, which is also fantastic, and that's in Dublin. So I mean, VR is a great technology, and it can be
Yeah.
used for this kind of stuff. But when I see it used for that kind of thing, I'm like, man, what do you like? That doesn't help anybody. It's just weird,
If
I,
anything, like that whole Oculus thing makes me not want to get a VR
yeah,
headset.
literally, I'm kind of like, and I know how cool the technology is because I'm actually quite a big fan of it in certain ways. I mean, it is quite cool. But now I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to be funding that. That's sick, I don't mean like in a cool, like, oh, gnarly kind. I mean, like, no, literally, like that's such a weird way to think about it, Because I mean, what I don't think anybody wants is they don't want, 10, 20 years down the line, there's like a kid in his room with the VR headset on his head and he doesn't go outside. And like, nobody wants that world.
Mhm.
Nobody
Like
wants that world.
surrogates.
Yeah, exactly. Or like circuits or gamer or, nobody wants that. Everyone, like, I think it is a great technology to be able to bring stuff that isn't physically possible. Because I know a lot of people, like even, my mom and some of the people, who I've, talked to about history or whatever, or find out that I did so much in ancient history. Like, why don't you just rebuild it? Because you can't, I mean, like, you rebuild it, it's not real, it removes something. But having this extra thing where you're able to experience it as it was without doing any damage to the site is incredible. Now, the big
Yeah.
challenge is actually trying to get that smaller because, I mean, you need a gaming PC basically to run that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, he should work on that. Make a smaller way to run this kind of stuff instead of something that doesn't help anybody. But anyway,
something that explodes your face.
exactly. That's just kind of. But again, maybe he just lost a run of himself, and it has been blown out of proportion. All puns intended. But it's, what I'm saying to you is, VR is cool and the Oculus is cool, but there's better uses of it.
there's better uses of people's time as well.
Exactly.
Instead of making this thing that you're never going to sell, that nobody wants.
No, it's like a couple of years ago. I don't know if you noticed, and I don't know how macabre you are, but there was a roller coaster designed by someone. Now, obviously, it wasn't built, but it's a roller coaster designed to kill you, basically.
I've heard of that. Yeah, and it has like the perfect number of loops or something.
Yeah. Now the thing is, that's a little small model. They didn't actually build it. This guy actually went off and built it. I mean, it's probably a lot easier to retrofit a headset than it is to make a roller coaster. But it's not. That's what I thought of instantly when I saw it.
Yeah.
But so we have a couple of things here as well this week. So Katie, I went to the cinema a lot. Like I've just a lot of movies came out. Saw Amsterdam. Pretty good. Saw Barbarian, very good. Saw Pray for the Devil, not so good. Walked out of a movie actually last week. I haven't never really walked out of a movie before. It only happened once or twice.
More.
So, first of all, Barbarian's great. Absolutely do watch it. I think everyone will have a really good time watching it. Well, maybe not a good time, but they will enjoy it. It's a good movie.
You'll have a time.
Yeah, well, just so long as a Scream Queen. So I mean, he's my favorite Scream Queen. Him and Danielle Harris. But just as long as I'll watch anything he's in, and he plays against type in this one. He plays like a horrible person in this, so it's very interesting to see him do that. The cast is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Amsterdam is quite good. Weird movie, but still very good. Pray for the Devil. I want it to be better, but it's like I expect a lot from an Exorcist movie. It does a little bit different than the standard, but it's still just kind of like none is in Exorcist. She is super Exorcist because she's not supposed to be. Goes to Exorcist school. Spookies. And that's kind of it. And like, and the end of it, they kind of tease she's like, oh, she has to go to Rome to learn to be super Exorcist. And then it just kind of, the end of it, she's like, it's so cheesy that you're like, oh, stop. It's just like,
they're almost jumping in the air and freeze framing.
No, that's literally how it ends. I'm not joking. That's literally like it ends with a freeze frame.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, you did. You did. And I was the whole time I was watching, I was like, oh, this has problems, but it's not bad. And then it ends, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop.
Why are you like this?
Yeah, it's like, come on, like, you had a decent premise, and it's not bad, but it's just, I mean, there's a great movie called The Cleansing Hour. Have you seen it? It's on Shudder.
I haven't, no.
Shudder is pretty cool anyway, but The Cleansing Hour is a fantastic. It's worth just getting Shudder for like a week just to watch it anyway. It's one of the best modern Exorcist movies out there. It's brilliant. This isn't one of them. This is a movie I'll never see again. And yeah, that was it. I walked out and I was just like, okay, well, at least I saw it. But the movie I walked out of, it's called Watcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a what country is Budapest in? Bulgaria?
Hungary?
Is it Hungary or Bulgaria? Let's Google this. We don't want to upset anybody.
Yeah. Let's get our facts straight.
Exactly. We're journalists here.
Bucharest.
Yeah. What country is it in?
Let's find out. Can't spell. Romania.
Romania. There we go. See? So there we go. We didn't know. Now we know. Budapest is in Romania, folks. So it's an American Romanian.
Bucharest, not Budapest.
Oh, Bucharest. I don't know.
We're getting our geography on.
Are we getting it? Okay. No. Well, this was based in Romania, right? As they learned to speak Romanian. And that's the big part of it, right? So it's an American-Romanian movie, and basically this wife who's half Romanian, half American, but she speaks no Romanian. She moves in with her husband. Her husband works undisclosed job where he must work in the office, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's walking around, and she's kind of a failed actress, and she's trying to adjust to learning the language and that kind of stuff. And it's all fine. And then she has a stalker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I was like, okay, there's nothing happening here, and I just left. I left after like 40 minutes. I was like, my bus is in 10 minutes. I can make that and be home in an hour. I'd rather do that. So I did. And I was just like, and to be fair, a lot of it's in English as well. I think the biggest problem is there's no subtitles. Now, I don't speak Romanian. It's not one of the languages I speak. Like, I genuinely have no idea what they're saying. But that's not the problem. I mean, you get the gist of it, And like the POV character doesn't speak Romanian either, so I mean, it does kind of help you empathize with her. But the problem is nothing happens in the movie. It's supposed to be a horror movie where nothing happens. It's like she's like, "Oh, I'm being followed," and then they bring the police in, and then the police like, "Are you sure you didn't make it up?" And you're like, "Oh my god, what is that?" And like 40 minutes in, it's like, where are they going with it? Okay, she's being followed and there's murders, and you're like, "Oh, it is great though," and you can watch it from home, folks. The Friday the 13th movies, not Friday the 13th, sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I never saw Freddy. I saw Freddy's Dead. That was the last one. I never saw Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Have you ever seen it?
No.
So have you seen any of the Freddy Krueger movies?
Yeah, the older ones, yeah.
Which ones have you seen? See the first one?
Yes, first one. Third one, I think the second one. The third one's where they're in the asylum, isn't it?
The Dream Warriors, the best one. Yeah, that's a brilliant one.
I've seen that one, definitely.
Okay, so basically the premise here is that like they get more silly, right? Or better. I mean, I like them, but Freddy isn't scary near the end of it, right? So the premise of this is that the girl who played Nancy, Heather, is her real name, and that's who she is. She's playing herself, right? And her husband is one of the prop makers, and she sees him die horrifically because the claw comes alive, and her son starts being all weird, right? Son's like 8 or something. And basically what happens is the son is not sleeping, and the husband dies, and that goes up. And basically she's seeing Freddy in real life, and Robert Englund is playing himself, so he just shows up. He's got, hey, what's up? And and it's good. Like Wes Craven's in it, but it's a movie about them making a movie to contain Freddy, right? Because Wes Craven's like, yeah, we there was this evil that was going all along, and the movies kept him alive, but now there's no movies. He's running around and he's trying to get through, and it's very dumb. But I mean, it's super fun too, and like the kills aren't very good. The callbacks are fun, but I mean, it's just so bizarre, I just kind of enjoy the fact that they went out to make a sequel to Nightmare on Elm Street, which it is, but it's also not, because it's like she even says, she goes, "I am not Nancy," she goes, like, yeah, but you gave her life, and he's like, yeah, I guess you did, but it's also, she just goes along with it. She's like, yeah, okay, Freddy's real. You're like, no one's just sitting and goes, this is mad, like. It's very good though. I will say, it used to be. I have it on DVD because they used to sell like all of them in like a 10 DVD box sets. I think you can get it probably on one of the streaming services. But I would really recommend it because it is just, if you're a fan of the series, I like slasher movies anyway. But this one was just a bizarre little trip. I had a great time watching it. So I'd be like, if you're stuck for something to watch and you kind of want to keep the spooks going on a little bit longer, Wes Craven's New Nightmare is very fun.
Keep the spooks going all year long.
Well, I don't know about you. We should petition for a second Halloween.
Oh yeah, in like June.
Well, I mean, okay, think about it, right? Halloween only lasts about 3 weeks maybe, and then we're straight into Christmas. And it's not even like America where we get Thanksgiving, which, I mean, okay, fair enough. All this stuff aside, I mean, Thanksgiving is like St. Patrick's Day, but you get Christmas dinner, so it's quite nice. I mean, it is like I experienced Thanksgiving about 5 years ago in New Jersey, and I was like, this is actually lovely. It's so bizarre though, as an Irish person, you're like, this is like, and then my uncle explained it to me. He goes, it's like Patrick's Day without drinking and Christmas without the presents. That's exactly what it is. Like, it seems a little bit excessive because like Christmas is like a month later, but it's also lovely as well.
It's kind of like practice Christmas.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way of putting it. But I mean, we don't get that here, so it's just straight into like the onslaught of Christmas. So having like something in between would be like ideal.
Mariah Carey just shows up and she's like, "It's Christmas now."
That's it. Well, she leaned into it this year she was on a treadmill as a witch and then just became.
She did, yeah. She did.
That was super fun. At least she's aware of the the meme now, and I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, sure. She did one. I think it was last year as well, where she did one, and it was like a load of pumpkins, and then she had like a baseball. Oh no, it was a tombstone that said like it's too early, and then she comes in with a baseball bat and she just like smashes everything.
You know what they should do? They should do Love Day.
Love Day.
Don't ruin another Love Day.
Love Day.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Love Day is the way to go. You know, hashtag Love Day 2023. Yeah. But no, I mean, I've talked about the Steam Deck on this. I know this is a very game and heavy one, but look, you get what you get, guys. We have a lot to talk about.
And you don't get upset.
Exactly. Or you do get upset and then come on the show and, you know. By the way, Black Adam's super good. You haven't seen it, Katie, so I'm not going to ruin it for you. But I will say, I know Black Panther's out. 100% not going to see that. Black Adam's fantastic, though. And the thing about it is, I think, like, from what I've seen about Black Panther 2, that it's the same movie. But I think Black Adam is better. Like, Black Adam is awesome. I love The Rock anyway. But, I mean, like, Dr. Fate's in it. So you get, like, some, like, Mr. Like, what's it? Doctor Strange stuff, too. I just think it's been completely overshadowed. And you should go see it. It's brilliant. But from what I've seen, I'm gonna wait, like, maybe... No, I'm not going to go see Black Panther 2. There's nothing there for me. I mean, I don't even like Namor. So I'm like, nah, bro. If you want to go see it, I saw Black Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, even with the whole controversy that was behind Black Panther 2, and you know, she was holding up filming because she was very anti-vax and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of like, I don't really want to reward that mentality.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's more just kind of like, you know, I've said this before, and there was even some people on social media losing their minds. I'm like, comics, you don't buy all of them. Pick the ones you want to see. Or you pick the ones you want to read. And that's kind of how I'm treating Marvel now. I'm like, unless it's a big event or something big happens, like if someone came out and said, oh, this big thing's happening in Black Panther 2, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll go see it. But other than that, I'm like, nah, I mean, all the beats that they're going to talk about already happened in Black Adam, you know, and that was great. I mean, that's one of the best superhero movies I have ever seen. Yo, I'm not joking. I'm deadly serious. It's just, I don't know why it's so good. And again, looking at the reviews, I was sitting there going, what movie were you watching? It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I had everything.
You liked Hocus Pocus too, but you didn't like this?
Exactly. It was the same outlet, and I was like, you know, am I wrong? No, it's the kids who are wrong. You know,
it's the kids who are wrong.
That's how I felt like. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. Obviously, you know, if the other guys see Black Panther 2, we'll talk about it. But I have no appetite to see. I mean, it might be a case of like Watcher. I saw Watcher at like 4:00 on a Sunday. If it's on, I might go see it, but I'm not rushing out to go see it. There's nothing there for me, you know. But hey, look, again, if people want to see it, cool. But I would say, you know, watch Black Adam before it leaves the cinema. You will have a wonderful time. It is great. Really good. Really good. But no, so I was updating the Steam Deck recently. So we talked about the Steam Deck before. We're going to finish up here. And the Steam Deck, I will say, it's a Switch killer. It is. But I still bring my Switch with me on tour and stuff because it's so small. I love the Switch. Awesome. It is brilliant. I mean, it's so compact. It just kind of lives in your bag, you know?
Yeah. It does.
But the Steam Deck is the reason why I'm playing games again, Katie. Because I kind of stopped. I couldn't really justify playing games on the PS5, which is kind of ironic. And the PC is work, so I don't. But with the Steam Deck, I don't know. It's like you can do other things. It's like what we talked about with the Switch. You know, you can have it on, you can, you know, pick it up and put it down and that. It's brilliant. The problem is, and I'll say this, folks, if you are going to get one, do not get the 64 gig one. It's too small.
Yeah.
It's too small. I mean, I wasn't expecting to like it. That's why I got it. I randomly booked it, and then they messaged me. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm buying a Steam Deck. That's what it was like, because they're like, oh, you have to buy this, whatever. I was like, all right, whatever.
They got me now.
Yeah, well, I forgot about it. That's the thing, because you had to book them so far in advance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's one of the best pizza technology I've ever had. The emulator is brilliant because it's a Linux computer. It has everything you want, all the emulators, like stuff. However, what I will say, and again, we're not endorsed by Valve. I wish we were. I bought this with my own money. So anything I'm saying is my own experience. Because we're not endorsed by anybody, you know. It just is what it is.
Just by each other.
Yeah, but if you want to endorse us, you totally can. I mean, we'll show for anything. No, obviously we're sharing this, but no, seriously, we'll show for anything.
No, but we will, yeah.
We will, yeah.
Give us money. My dogs need shoes.
Exactly, my dogs need shoes. Anyway, yeah. So I was like, okay, I picked it up and I was like, right, I got the smaller one because I was like, it's gonna be all right. It turns out I love it. Right, it's phenomenal, amazing bit of technology. It really is. All the emulators you want, runs everything pretty much the way you want it to. There's one or two kind of issues, but you kind of come over them. If you're anyway into PC gaming, you're probably used to fixing them anyway, so it's not a huge learning curve. If you know Linux, you're gonna have God access on everything. It was great. Now, the problem is with the 64-bit, once you hit the internal memory, and some things you can't. I put a 1 terabyte SD into it, and once you hit internal memory and it fills up, it gets caught in a boot loop.
Oh.
Now, a boot loop is when you turn your computer on and it goes vroom, off, off, vroom, off, vroom, off, or it gets caught in the logo. So if you have like a Dell, it will hang on the Dell, Lavono, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's called a boot loop, right? Where it just won't boot into the operating system. And that's what happened with my poor Steam Deck.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I had to reinstall the operating system. And then I was sitting there like, man, I'll just put a bigger hard drive into it. Or I'll return it. Actually, no, I said I'll return it and I'll get the top tier one. And they were, Valve are great. They're like, yeah, send it back. But I'm like, or I could put a hard drive into it. So I bought a 1 terabyte hard drive. It arrived. A Dell one. That is not cheap, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy expensive. But, and trying to access it, it's not as easy as it's made out online. Fair warning. I did have to buy a new set of screwdrivers, and all that kind of stuff. So there is a fair amount of work in it, and then there's the panic of, did I just ruin my system?
Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't. I got it working today, and it seems to be fine. It didn't blow up or anything like that, so thank God. But I would say, folks, if you're getting one, do not get the 64-bit one, right? If you feel confident upgrading, cool, go for it. But I mean, if I had this over again, I would just buy the 512.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do from start. But again, it's like, I have the 64-bit here now. There's a 1 terabyte in it, and so it's it's up there. But yeah, that's my official warning. It's not worth the effort. It genuinely isn't. But I had it there, and it was funny because I was just getting ready to return it, and then my hard drive. I had bought the hard drive. Like, as I clicked buy hard drive, they said, "Hey, you can return it." I'm like, "Oh well, I guess I'm gonna try put the hard drive in it now." But I mean, look, there's a bit of work in it. You can do it. It's worth it. It's cool. It's a great bit of technology. I love the Steam Deck. But my advice to anyone listening: don't get the 64-bit one, or 64 gigabyte one, unless you're going. And also, it's not SSD. It's just it's like a, what did he call it? An Emacs card. It's just like it's basically a SIM card. Not a SIM card. A fancy SD that you're booting onto. So it is quite slow to boot. Because obviously SD is so much faster. You don't really notice it, but I've noticed it now because I put the SSD in it. It boots in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of the things where it's like, yeah, you can mess around with it. Valve have made it very upgradable, but there is more work in it than online would let you to believe. Yeah. So my advice would be, look, if you're not, and again, I said to everybody, if you're not really tech savvy and you just want something to pick up and play, get a Switch. They have released a lot more games that are compatible on Steam, on the Steam Deck. But I mean, like, if you're a PC gamer, you'll be fine. But I don't think it's a Switch killer in as much as, the price point is like, it's nearly 4 times the price.
Yeah.
It's literally 3 times the weight, like. And it's phenomenal, but it does have all, in my original review, which I think is like 6 or 7 shows ago, you guys can go back. I would say, look, and there are some problems. Even when it did work, it gets caught in it's updating, and it's just stuck in this, like, you can see it on Reddit. It's like, oh, it's stuck at 1 second for like 2 hours, and you have to do this like magic kind of keyboard thing where you're like, hold the power button for 10 seconds and then it works. And you're like, there's just so much messing about, you know. And for me, I love that kind of stuff. That's what, you know, I like to mess around with that kind of thing, get to work. But a lot of people just aren't going to. So if you're going to get one, at least go for the mid-tier one. But that's my rant over. That's my review over. Steam Deck, still great. Steam Switch, also good.
Yes. More portable games, please.
Exactly. More portable games. I get to play Alice Madness Returns, though, portably.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And Vampire the Masquerade. So, I mean...
Yeah. Yeah, I've been streaming Alice Madness for the last couple of weeks, and that's what a few people have come to me and been like, oh, I got the Steam Deck and I'm playing it on the Steam Deck, and I'm like, yeah, I hate you. But it's fine. I don't mind. I love that game in all its forms.
It is. It is fantastic. And look, you know, the Steam Deck, again, like, the more affordable option isn't a good one, in my opinion, because, I mean, when it hits that harsh boot loop, it's a nightmare. You have to do a reinstall, which, I mean, if you're not tech savvy already, that's a bit of a nightmare. You know?
And like games these days take up a lot of memory.
Yeah. I would say if you are going to get one, just bite the bullet, get the mid-tier one, get a 1 terabyte or even 450 gig SD, and that should be more than enough. I put the 1 terabyte in it because I'm also going to dual boot Windows on it as well and mess around with it. Mm-hmm. But that's me. I mean, what I do with computers is not what normal people do. I have learned this. So there we go. Anyway, Katie, again, you mentioned you're streaming. So as we wrap up, how can folks watch and also subscribe?
Yeah, come find me on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/mannequinblue. At the minute, I stream daily on weekdays, not on weekends because I work weekends. But yes. It will vary, but I keep a schedule up. And also, if you follow my Instagram at mannequin_blue, I do post up when I'm going to be streaming and what we're going to be doing as well. Perfect.
And again, you know, all the stuff's also on eerie.media.com as well. So we will put a link to Katie's stream so you can find her there. Best place to keep in contact with us is, of course, our social media, which we are getting better. Keen looks after it, which is why it gets done.
Keen's great, though.
Keen is great. He is. He really is. And we'll be back next week, as we always are, here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, and of course, eerie.media.com. All the social medias, all the streaming services, guys. Again, we want to hear from you. eerie@gmail.com is where you can reach us. You can also reach us on social media because we know you listen. We get statistics. We get the numbers. So
we're watching you.
We're not watching you. Technically, they're listening to us, but we know they're listening. So
always watching.
You can watch Katie though on Twitch.
You can, yes. Come find me on Twitch.
All right, folks. We'll talk to you next week here on Nerd to Know Basis. Bye.
She says I'm not romantic. I say she's too dramatic.
All right, so you're listening to the podcast. You're like, hey, I'm not in Ireland. How do I get in touch? Well, TuneIn has you covered. That's how you can check us out live when we're on the radio. You go to TuneIn and download the app, or you can check out the live streams on eerie.media.com or Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want to get in contact with us, it's very easy. Nerd to Know Media everywhere. Nerd to Know Media on Twitter. Nerd to Know Media Instagram. Nerd to Know Media on Twitch. Nerd to Know Media @gmail.com if you want to reach out via email. Hope to hear from you soon. Check out the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course, over on nerdtoknowmedia.com, the only wrestling podcast by wrestling fans who don't hate wrestling. We'll see you then.
Hey, Dara, what are you doing over there in Ireland? Like with the freaking leprechauns and everything. That's not cool. You should be over here with the cosplayers. At least then you could, like, I don't know, pretend like you got, I don't know, some kind of thing going on. Yeah, with you give me a Brooklyn Blade. Yeah, with your dick, Dara. Yeah, Dara. Why ain't you over here with Joey? Anyway, we missed you, dude. Face up, so, it's Circle Evo saying,
I love it. All I do is just believe in the heart of the cards, and then I can...
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.